Hi, I'm Angel, and before I continue, please like and subscribe. One click from you means more stories can be shared. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers and make a difference. Let's begin. The day my parents texted me that they no longer trusted me was actually the day I finally felt free. But I should start at the beginning. I grew up in a modest suburban home with my mom, Diane, and dad, Robert. From the outside, we looked like the perfect family. Dad, the successful investment advisor, Mom, the dedicated school administrator, and me, their only daughter who graduated top of her class. What people didn't see were the constant criticisms, the monitoring of my every move, and the subtle manipulations that made me doubt my own reality. Angel, where exactly are you going tonight? Mom asked as I grabbed my keys from the counter. I was 25, yet she still used that tone. Just meeting Ryan and Mia at Cornerstone Cafe to discuss some business ideas. Dad looked up from his newspaper. Business ideas? With what money? You can barely manage your current job. I've been saving, Dad, and I'm actually doing well at work. That's not what your mother heard from Linda at the grocery store. Her daughter works at that marketing agency too. Says you're on thin ice. This was typical third-hand gossip treated as fact, especially if it painted me in a negative light. Linda's daughter works in accounting. We've never even spoken, I said, keeping my voice steady. My supervisor just approved my proposal for the Miller account. Mom sighed dramatically. We're just concerned about you making another impulsive decision. Remember that art school fiasco? The art school fiasco was their term for when I'd earned a partial scholarship to a prestigious design program, but turned it down because they convinced me it would lead to poverty and failure. I need to go. Ryan and Mia are waiting. Ryan? Dad muttered. Still wasting time with that underachiever? Ryan was a software engineer with his own successful startup, but to my parents, he'd always be the kid who got a B in chemistry during junior year. Yes, Dad, still with Ryan. Going now? Bye? I escaped before they could say more, but their words followed me to my car. At the cafe, Ryan and Mia were already waiting. Ryan greeted me with a warm hug, his tall frame enveloping me completely. Mia pushed a latte across the table. You look like you need this. Parents again? She asked. How'd you guess? I dropped into the chair. They're exhausting. Did you tell them about the investment opportunity? Ryan asked. I shook my head. I can't tell them anything. They'd find some way to make me doubt myself. Angel, you've got to stop letting them get to you, Mia said, tucking her curly hair behind her ears. This is a legitimate opportunity. Your app design is brilliant. I know, but every time I think I'm free of their influence, they say something, and suddenly I'm 12 years old again, believing I'm incapable of making good decisions. Ryan took my hand. So don't tell them. You don't need their approval. It's not that simple, I sighed. They've got their names on some of my accounts from college. I never got around to removing them. Wait, what? Mia straightened up. They can still access your money? Just my old savings account. I've been transferring funds to my new private account, but there's still about 12,000 in there. Ryan's eyes widened. Angel, you need to remove them immediately. What if they try to block your investment? They wouldn't do that, I said, but even I didn't believe my words. The same parents who convinced you to decline that scholarship? The ones who told you Ryan wasn't good enough? Who made you turn down that job in Seattle? Mia counted off on her fingers. Those parents? I stared into my latte. She was right, of course. The next day, I visited my bank to remove my parents from my accounts. The representative seemed understanding, but explained there would be a processing period. When I got home, my Aunt Clara was visiting. My mom's sister was the black sheep of the family, divorced, traveled extensively, and lived life on her own terms. Mom tolerated her, but always with an air of superiority. Angel, look at you, gorgeous as ever. Aunt Clara embraced me. I was just telling your mom about my trip to Portugal. That sounds amazing, I replied, genuinely interested. It would have been nice if you'd called to say you were coming home late last night. Mom interrupted. We were worried. I texted you that I was with Ryan. Until midnight? Discussing business? Her air quotes around business made my blood boil. Yes, Mom. Actual business. I'm investing in a startup app. The room went silent. Dad looked up from his tablet. You're what? He asked. Investing. In a mobile application. It's a design I've been working on with Ryan and Mia. With what money? Mom demanded. My money? That I earned? Dad set his tablet down. Angel, you know nothing about investments. That's my area of expertise, and I'm telling you, these tech startups are just burning cash with no return. Actually, Aunt Clara chimed in, tech startups can be quite lucrative if you've got the right concept. Mom shot her sister a look that could curdle milk. Stay out of this, Clara. Angel, we're just trying to protect you from making another mistake. Like art school? I couldn't help myself. Exactly like that. Thank goodness you listened to us then. Aunt Clara raised an eyebrow. The art school with the alumni who designed those ads for Nike? That art school? I felt a rush of gratitude toward my aunt. At least someone in the family saw my potential. This is different, I said calmly. I've done my research. The market need is there, and we have interested investors. Well, don't expect us to bail you out when it fails, Dad said. I've never asked you to bail me out of anything. Mom huffed. What about that apartment deposit when you insisted on moving out? That was a loan, which I repaid with interest. Only after we reminded you repeatedly, she countered. Aunt Clara looked uncomfortable. Diane, Robert, Angel is an adult. Shouldn't she be allowed to make her own financial decisions? Stay out of our family matters, Clara, Dad snapped. The argument escalated until I finally left the room, retreating to my old bedroom. Minutes later, there was a soft knock at the door. Can I come in? Aunt Clara asked. Please. She sat beside me on the bed. Your parents mean well, but they're stuck in their ways. They don't trust me to make my own decisions. No, they don't. But Angel, that's their limitation, not yours. After she left, I called Ryan. I can't do this anymore, I told him. Every conversation becomes a reminder of how little they think of me. Then stop having those conversations, he said simply. You don't live with them anymore. You can control how much information they have about your life. He was right. I didn't owe them explanations for my choices. The next week passed with minimal contact with my parents. I focused on finalizing our business plan and meeting with a potential angel investor, ironically named Angela. Your design approach is innovative, Angela said during our presentation. I'm particularly impressed with the user interface. Thank you, I replied, feeling a confidence I rarely experienced around my parents. We've done extensive user testing. I'd like to offer you the full amount you're seeking, with terms as discussed, she continued. My legal team will draft the paperwork. As we left the meeting, I was ecstatic. Ryan, Mia, we did it. You did it, Ryan corrected. It was your design that sold her. That night, I received a call from my bank. There had been an attempt to withdraw funds from my old savings account, the one I was in the process of removing my parents from. Did you authorize this transaction? The representative asked. No, I didn't. The request came from Robert Johnson. He's listed on the account. My stomach dropped. Can you block it? I've submitted paperwork to remove him. Yes, but the process isn't complete yet. I can place a temporary freeze. After hanging up, I felt a mix of anger and betrayal. My father had tried to withdraw my money without telling me. I called him immediately. Dad, did you try to take money from my savings account today? There was a pause. Angel, your mother and I are concerned about this reckless investment. We're trying to protect you. By stealing my money? It's not stealing when we're trying to prevent you from throwing it away. It is stealing. That's my money that I earned. Don't be dramatic. We've always guided your financial decisions. Not anymore. I've already spoken to the bank. You can't access those funds. The conversation ended with my father's angry assertion that I was being ungrateful and foolish. Minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. We no longer trust you. Your behavior is destroying this family. I stared at the message for a long time before typing a single word in response. Understood. That night, I made a decision. If they wanted to play hardball, I could play too. But I would do it my way, methodically, legally, and with absolute clarity. The next day, I invited my Uncle Tom, my dad's brother, to lunch. Unlike my father, Uncle Tom had always been supportive of my creative pursuits. I need your advice, I told him over sandwiches. And maybe your help. Anything for my favorite niece, he said with a warm smile. I explained the situation with my parents, including the attempted withdrawal from my account. That doesn't sound like Robert, he frowned. It doesn't? Let me show you something. I pulled out my phone and showed him years of text messages from my parents. Criticisms, veiled threats, manipulations. His face grew increasingly troubled as he scrolled. Angel, I had no idea. They always portrayed you as the difficult one. They've been controlling every aspect of my life since I can remember. And now they're trying to sabotage my business opportunity. What can I do? There's a family dinner next week for Grandma's birthday. I need witnesses when I finally stand up to them. Uncle Tom nodded slowly. Count me in. The night of Grandma's birthday dinner arrived. Everyone gathered at my parents' house, aunts, uncles, cousins, and family friends. I arrived with Ryan, which immediately raised my mother's eyebrows. We didn't know you were bringing him, she whispered harshly. I texted you yesterday, I replied calmly. Well, we'll have to squeeze in another chair. Throughout dinner, my parents played their usual roles. The proud, long-suffering mother and father dealing with their challenging daughter. They spoke over me, corrected my stories, and dismissed my recent accomplishments. Angel's throwing away her stable job for some app scheme, Dad announced when Grandma asked what I'd been up to. It's not a scheme, Dad, I corrected. We just secured full funding from an investor. Anyone can get funding these days, he waved dismissively. Doesn't mean it's a sound investment. I noticed Uncle Tom and Aunt Clara exchange looks across the table. They'd both been briefed on my plan. As dessert was served, my mother launched into a story about how I'd nearly failed economics in college and needed her intervention with the professor. It was completely fabricated. Mom, that never happened, I interrupted. I got an A in economics. Angel, don't contradict your mother, Dad snapped. We all remember the phone call with Professor Daniels. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, I have my transcript right here. And Professor Daniels was a woman? The table went quiet as I displayed my college grades. My mother's face flushed. Well, there were other classes you struggled with? No, there weren't. But that's not the point. The point is that you and Dad have been rewriting my history for years to fit your narrative that I'm incapable of making good decisions. Angel, this isn't appropriate dinner conversation, Dad warned. I think it's exactly the right conversation, Uncle Tom interjected. I've seen the texts, Robert. The way you and Diane speak to Angel isn't right. You showed our private messages to Tom? Mom looked scandalized. Yes, along with the bank records showing Dad tried to withdraw my savings without my permission. Gasps around the table. My grandmother's eyes widened. Robert, you didn't, she said. It was for her own good, Dad insisted. She's making a terrible financial decision. A decision that's mine to make, I countered. And for your information, our app prototype just received full funding from Angela Torres. The Angela Torres? My cousin Melissa perked up. The tech investor? I nodded. She's backing us completely. We start development next month. My father's face reddened. This is ridiculous. You've turned the family against us with these exaggerations. Nothing I've said is exaggerated, I replied calmly. In fact, I've kept the worst parts to myself. Like what? Grandma asked quietly. I took a deep breath. Like how they convinced me to turn down a scholarship to one of the best design programs in the country. Or how they've been accessing my bank accounts without permission for years. Or the fact that they've been spreading rumors about Ryan to try to break us up. We were trying to protect you, Mom cried. No, you were trying to control me. There's a difference. I think, Aunt Clara said firmly, that you both owe Angel an apology. Apologize? Dad scoffed. After everything we've done for her? I stood up. I don't want an apology. I just want you to understand that I don't need your approval anymore. I'm successful despite your efforts, not because of them. And from now on, you'll have exactly zero input in my decisions. So you're abandoning your family? Mom's voice wobbled dramatically. No, I'm setting boundaries, and if you can't respect them, then we won't have a relationship. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Grandma spoke. Diane Robert, I raised you better than this. You should be ashamed. Over the next few months, the consequences of that dinner unfolded naturally. My parents faced significant backlash from our extended family. Grandma revised her will, placing most of her estate in a trust that I would help manage. Uncle Tom, who sat on the board of the financial firm where my dad worked, initiated a review of his client practices. Most importantly, our app launched successfully. The day we hit 100,000 downloads, I received a text from my mother. We were wrong. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long time before responding. Not yet. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in making someone apologize, but in no longer needing their apology to feel whole. As for my parents, they'll have plenty of time to reflect on why they should have trusted me. Meanwhile, I'm too busy succeeding to worry about it. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had someone underestimate you only to later regret it? How did you handle proving them wrong?